Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Iron Icon. This is the episode where we bring you the weekly news, everything that's happened in Icon over the last week. And back from holidays, and I know I keep saying this, but he is really back from holidays this time. Iconographer, how are you today?
Relaxed and refreshed. It was I'm watching a pretty crazy day in crypto today. Between Vitalik killing all the Doge coins and the Dogecoin, or not the Doge coins, but the dog coin copycats with his. I guess I don't know if you call it a rug pull, but that's kind of essentially what it was. And then just a few hours later, we get a message from Elon saying, "Oops, we didn't realize that in our mind, cryptocurrency takes up energy, so we're not going to accept a payment even though we announced this only a month or two ago." So they did say they'd still keep it, but obviously a lot of drama. Not going to weigh in one way or another on those topics, but certainly a lot going on, and Icon just kind of getting thrashed around. Along with a lot of the other altcoins as a result of all this kind of craziness. So, I think things will hopefully settle down here and we'll have a normal rest of the week, but we'll see how it all plays out.
I tell you what, though, the pair that is skyrocketing is the ETH BTC pair. On this
Right.
news, ETH has just continued its climb up to almost zero point zero 0.08 of a BTC. So that's it's in all time high territory. It just hit an all time high again. Good
Well,
news
there's
for ETH.
yeah, it seems like there's more and more people getting a sense that DeFi is about to start kind of warming up and taking off again,
Mm.
which would make sense from since they're all kind of tied, most of them tied to Ethereum, that would certainly make sense. Also, just kind of the market playing out and everything like that. But if DeFi is going to start heating up, hopefully balance potentially gets wrapped into that in some way, shape, or form. I know it's obviously still pretty new. I think are we, we're still less than 3 weeks out. I think we're about 17 days, something like that. But we're already up to over $250 million in total value locked, which I think is pretty impressive. The system as a whole, as of now, about an hour or so I grabbed this data, it was $699,403 in combined fees. I imagine that's over 700,000 as I read this by now. And the balance token, which is trading somewhere between $12 and $13, the market cap is just a hair under $13 million. So, I think by pretty much any measure, that's been a pretty successful initial kind of couple weeks. They did point out that 10% of the ICX circulating supply
Mm.
is locked into balance, which I think is a pretty impressive number. I don't, I think we're not going to see 10% every 2 weeks until we get to 100%, not by any means. But I think that is a nice trend to see, and everything seems to be moving in the right direction. I actually got inspired to kind of write a bit of a analysis of, how does balance stack up to kind of some of the other top tier DeFi chains. So that includes like Compound, Aave, Maker, of course, which is probably the best comparison to Balance, and just kind of looking at some of the different numbers that each of these, the numbers that we have available. Maker again, which is kind of the one that's most comparable. Their total value locked is just around $10 billion or so, and their market cap is about half that. So there's a ratio called that I've seen. I think it's kind of becoming more and more looked at in DeFi. It's basically the market cap against the total value locked, and total value locked, for those that don't know, is basically all the assets that are locked into the platform. So in the case of balance, that would include the all the funds that are locked into the collateral for taking out loans, as well as all the funds that are locked into the DEX. So basically, the amount of money that's kind of flowing or sitting on the smart contracts that the platform is operating on. So in the case of Maker, like I said, its total value locked was a little under 10 billion. Market cap's around 4.7. Now I put these numbers together 2 days ago or so, so they're probably a little outdated, but shouldn't be too dramatically off. But ultimately, its ratio is about 0.48. Compound, they have 11.6 billion total value locked. Market cap's around 4 billion, so that's a 0.35. So I looked at, Aave, Uniswap, Curve, SushiSwap, Yearn, and Banker, which I think they don't necessarily make run 1 through 9, but they're all kind of at least top 15, and they're usually around point 0.4, point 0.5, that kind of area as far as what the market cap being tied to the total value locked. And I think there's a good reason that is a good way to look at it, because I guess kind of starting back a little bit. People look at these tokens, but I think when they first came out, and say for Curve or for Aave, it's why is this token that doesn't seem to do anything? All it is give you governance rights over a platform, right? Why is that worth hundreds or sometimes even thousands of dollars? I think Urin's token is worth more than Bitcoin at this point in time. Obviously, it has a much lower supply, but I think the point still remains. It's kind of even I was kind of like, why do I care so much about that? And I think at the end of the day, it's if there's a platform that is producing millions, if not tens of millions, if not potentially hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue every year, or could produce that, then then you'd probably want to be able to you'd put value on having a say over that platform, in terms of how that money's spent, whether it's delivered back to the token holders, whether it's spent on growing the platform, whatever else it might be. That itself is its own little form of power. So the market cap of these tokens, it makes sense it would be tied to total value lock, just because each one has different kind of fee metrics and ways to generate fees. But basically, the more people use the platform, the more fees it generates. And if there's more value locked in there, then there's more revenue being generated, which would mean the underlying token should be worth more because there's more potential value there. So you can kind of see how there's that correlation between, how much money's in the ecosystem, and how much, how much is the ecosystem worth, as far as kind of how the market reads it. So as I said, in most situations, it's, kind of I won't say average, but kind of the general barometer I've seen is point 0.4 to point 0.5, somewhere around there. There are obviously some outliers. As of now, the balance token BALN is only at 0.05. Now, part of it is there's a whole lot of tokens that are still to be sent out, right? At this point, there's 100,000 that are minted each day, so it's obviously fairly inflationary on the front end. That's how a lot of these dApps run. I think those who are familiar with IconBet remember how much tap was being given out at the early stages to kind of incentivize people to start using the platform early on, versus how much is distributed now. So I think to a certain extent the market's factoring that. Okay, there's it's not that there's a fixed supply here of only a million tokens or whatever it might be. In reality, there's going to be I think in 2 years it's up to 20 million tokens, something like that, just based on the distribution schedule. But it does start to get deflationary, and I do think even when you factor that in, 0.05 is still pretty low compared to the other ones. So there's an argument to be made here that the balance token is pretty undervalued when you look at the amount of value that's being locked in, when you look at the amount of fees that are being generated, versus what the price of the actual token is. Now, I'm not saying it is or isn't undervalued, because again, these aren't all apples to apples comparisons. Like I said, each platform is different. Balanced is still so new also, that the market might just kind of be waiting to see, if there aren't any bugs, there aren't any issues or anything like that. But I think if you're if you're a fan of balance, if you hold balance tokens, I think you should be encouraged by the initial numbers thus far that the platform has generated. I'm interested to see how the trend kind of grows over time. There's already a couple helpful resources as far as looking at these metrics. Brian from Rhizome put together an API on his website. We'll put a link to that in the show notes. Basically, putting all the key metrics there. It updates, I think, basically live, if not maybe every couple of minutes or so. And then Spleen also built a series of graphs that we'll also link to, that gives a bit more of a visual representation of that, and some historical data as well. So certainly encourage you to take a look at both of those if you're super interested in balanced.
Yeah, look, some amazing stats coming through. And one of the things I wanted to comment on, those fees. So those fees keep building up, and at the moment, yes, you should be staking, or if you're providing LP liquidity to the balance BNUSD pool, that's considered, the balance tokens in there is considered to be staked. Obviously, they move around a little bit based on price, but one thing to keep in mind there is when in 2 months, all these fees are being collected in the DAO. fund, and when the vote passes, it'll be one of the first votes that comes through for the DAO. It will be to distribute those funds to stakers, the balance token holders, as long as you've got a loan of 50 BNUSD. So keep that in mind, and remember some of the metrics around the fees is you see it's being collected on the various coins. So in SICX, in Balanced, or in BNUSD, that's how the distribution will work as well. It will come through in what's being collected in the DAO, just passed on back to the stakers and holders. So keep that in mind. And I've seen a lot of questions around that, and I did get in touch with the team to clarify how that will work. So I wanted to comment on that. But the article was great. Iconographer, again, can't believe, while on holidays, there you are writing stuff for the Icon community. Love it. Keep up the great work.
And I did. I think this is more of a testament to balance than it is to my article or anything like that. But it within probably 36 hours or so, it already had 1,000 people take a look at it, which is by far more interest than I've had in other things historically. So I think part of it's the amount of eyeballs that are on the Icon community right now, as well as crypto, and also the fact that balance is pretty hot as well. So certainly a lot of interest in that, and that was encouraging to see.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's great to hear. It goes to show once we start getting some quality dApps on the Icon blockchain in the ecosystem, people want to know about it. They want to read up on it. They want to know how to use it, which is great to see. So next up, we have MetrICX. We've seen Andrew post that they're looking at a 1st of June release date, hoping to land on that. Look, the app is looking sensational. Version 2, it is what you want from it. Originally, when it was released, it gave you the information you needed, which was staking, which PREPs, etc. Now you're gonna get from balance, you're gonna see what you have in there, what pools you've put into, what the split is in those pools, and total numbers. So it's going to literally at a glance give you all the information of each of your protocols. And there's not just balance for Unify, for the various other dApps. If you have something in there, it will be displaying information that you want to see, and you do want to see it, so you don't actually have to go and click on the Balance dApp to look at what you want to find. You can just look at the app and it just tells you everything. So and all you have to do is paste your wallet address. There's no sign in, etc. So it's utility. It's a utility app in the sense. So I think the redesign, there's been a lot of focus on the UI aspect, a lot of focus on what information it's feeding you, ensuring it's relevant. And the beauty of the way they've built it as well is a lot of the bits of information that's being displayed, they have designed it so they can tweak that in the back without actually pushing updates to the app. So if feedback comes through from users and particular things they want to see post-release, just a few changes and the team will be able to display that information the users are asking for. So a lot of thought and love has gone into the app, and I can comment on it a bit because I have been testing it in the background. So thank you, Andrew, for letting me do that. And yeah, I can truly say it is the much needed and well-deserved update that is going to come through. Everyone's going to be very happy with what they get.
Yeah, I've been, I've also been privy to kind of the playing around with it and testing it and everything like that. And, he's been working on it pretty diligently, and each kind of new iteration offers a couple new little features and things like that. So it's kind of, from my standpoint, it's kind of, it feels like a very gradual kind of implementation. But I also know that, when people switch from version 1 to version 2, it's going to be totally night and day. Just the amount of data that's all there, it makes it so easy. Just there's still a lot of stuff I'll occasionally use my computer for to figure out, okay, how much do I have, going on here, or whatever it might be, how much is this worth. It makes it a lot easier. Just all you have to do is fire up your phone, look at the app. All your, again, your wallets are already saved and everything like that, your public addresses. So it makes it super easy, just kind of know on a very quick basis, what exactly is going on with your own little version of your Icon world. So we're, a bit of a trend where more and more appearances are happening on various YouTube channels, interviews, things like that. Michael Vandepop, I hope I pronounced that right. He's one of the more, he's just a kind of an influential voice in crypto. He's pretty smart, pretty savvy. I follow him on Twitter. He's not one of those guys who's out there kind of shilling, giving tokens one day or another. He kind of does his own. He does some trading analysis, but I think he also does kind of big picture analysis too. Really knows his stuff. He's a really credible voice. He had Min Kim on to talk about Icon. He's got almost 100,000 subscribers, so certainly not the biggest crypto channel, but certainly not the smallest either. He also has a little under 300,000 followers on Twitter as well. So certainly some good exposure there for the project. Min did a really good job of talking through kind of the bigger picture icon topics. I think if you're a listener of this show, you're certainly more than familiar with them now. But whether it's Icon 2.0, talking about security tokens, regulations, that sort of stuff, just kind of what's going on in Icon as a whole. Super interesting. Again, if you listen to us, nothing too familiar, but it's certainly good to get more exposure to the non-Icon community about these, exciting things that are going on in the system.
Yeah, look, I think this is a good point to make. In the last 2 weeks, I've seen Min, Scott, various and people who are building dApps on various AMAs across big channels, and they're not necessarily these channels that the pump this coin and just nonsense. They're people who know what they're talking about in the crypto space, and this interview with Min was really good. I actually watched the whole thing, and Min was quite honest and direct, and even talked about some of the shortcomings and some of the areas Icon probably could have done a better job. It was very honest, and he talked about Icon 2.0 and essentially talk. It was a great analogy where you're taking the car and replacing the engine in it. It was detailed but very simple as well. So I encourage, if you haven't seen it, really, we'll put it in the show notes. It's worth a watch. It covered so many different topics. So it very much, I don't know, there was a comment on the channel as well, a few comments where, and this was a trend in it, very humble view of Min talking about Icon's progress and how and what the experience has been like. And I actually agree with that. That's how I felt when I watched it. I very much felt he was very cautious to never... He acknowledged there's other interoperability solutions, and some of them are progressing much quicker than Icon. However, his point was that we wanted our solution, took the time to research it, to get it just right. There was various factors in where we differentiated, and it was good. It was a great one. Definitely something that everyone should watch. But ultimately, my point is that the team is being extremely active. I personally, they're on various channels. They are talking about things when there's a need to talk about it. So it's good to see. It's good to see that. So the next up we have Katina. So they've had a massive podcast, and they announced they're launching PREPrs. It's an essentially a hub for the PREPs with some rankings, what the PREPs are up to, working on. They've tried to automate the data sources, and Corey's heavily involved. We know this, that Corey's been heavily involved in the Icon ecosystem and knows what a lot of the PREPs are up to. So a lot of that has come together. There was a reason they've done that. I won't keep talking too much about this because the next episode we have planned, we will be sitting down with Corey and having the conversation, and you'll be hearing right from him why this was the point of focus for Katina and why it was important for the Icon ecosystem. So more on that soon. What I do want to tease as well, sorry, Iconographer, go ahead. You had a point you wanted to make?
Well, I was going to say, for those who aren't familiar with it, I think it gets a bit more context is, just basically ever since the PREP system began, there's been various efforts to try to figure out how to kind of create an objective measurement of, which ones are better, which ones are doing more, which ones are doing what. I think I've seen it probably 1,000 times by now on whether it's Twitter or Reddit or Telegram, of just, kind of more casual iconists or new iconists saying, hey, there's so many, I don't know who to choose. If only there was some way to know who's doing what and everything like that. And so this, there's been again various attempts. Each one's and it's a lot of this stuff is really really difficult to objectively quantify, just because some person might think marketing is really really important, but some person might think development's really really important, and whoever's making that system has to kind of weigh those interests. I think in this case, they've tried to create as objectively and I guess quantitatively based of a ranking system as possible in response to that from the community. So I think they put a lot of thought and effort behind it, and I think they have a lot of dedication to make sure it's success. So I certainly look forward to kind of hopefully it becomes a resource and builds a lot of confidence between both PREPs and Iconis as a whole, and creates a healthy level of accountability as far as knowing exactly what PREP is doing what.
Agree. Now, Iconographer, we started off in a blaze, and one of the big things we didn't say, and we should have said right at the start, is if you tuned in so far, stay tuned in. We actually have a huge announcement at the end of the episode as well, and with a guest coming on to talk about the announcement of a new DApp that's going to be launching on Icon. So stay tuned in. We're going to get through the news and then we'll jump straight to our guest, who will share some insights as to what's launching, some key dates, and what's going to happen from there. So just want to call that out. Hang in there. It's a news-filled episode, really is, with some spectacular announcements at the end. So, okay, well, next thing, actually, what have you got for us, Iconographer?
Yeah, so Huobi, hopefully I pronounced that correctly. I've read it 1,000 times, but I don't think I've ever actually say it. It's an exchange. It probably should be pretty well recognizable by now for those who have been in crypto a decent amount of time. It's one of the leading exchanges by volume, and I believe it's the primary exchange in the Korean market. So if it's kind of like the Coinbase of Korea to a certain extent. But they've added a ICX/KRW pair, KRW being the currency of Korea or South Korea specifically. So obviously, not a huge groundbreaking piece of news by any means. ICX, I believe, was already tradable on there through other pairs, but this gives a nice, more direct access to fiat-based currency. So a nice little healthier kind of more, easier to use on ramp for people in Korea to buy ICX, which is always a good thing.
Yes, more avenues is better for everyone and Icon. Next up, we have IAM. So we know Icon Asset Management, they had a sale, a token sale. They had their public. So before it was exclusive to all their voters initially, and then they had a public sale for the token. Again, we know what this is. It's basically an index of crypto across the Icon ecosystem that they have, and it pays dividends. And by holding the tokens, that's what you're getting. They had a token sale. Now they what they did was they split the public sale in two different sections, two different timings, to ensure that different time zones could take part. Very successful, great to see. So I believe both the sales sold out in the first hour, which is excellent. So people are paying attention and getting involved. Good to see. And we also had them announce post the sale. So their AUM, which is the index fund that keeps building the pool, they've set milestones at every point when the fund hits a certain amount of value. So in this example, say it hits 5 million, they will pay out bonuses to all the IAM token holders. And so when the fund hits a certain amount, the 1 million will get paid out in bonuses to all the IAM holders, which is great to see. Now, those bonuses would come in the form of maybe liquidating some of the funds to pay those bonuses, but it's not about just building a mountain and not rewarding the supporters, the token holders. So they've created this process, and they continuously keep evolving the model, which is great to see. So if you haven't gotten across that, check out their Telegram group. They've written an article, and actually we'll put it in the show notes, talking through how the bonus structure will work and giving some examples around it. Great to see.
Yeah, certainly a nice way to expand access to your token. I think up to this point, the only way to do it was through staking your ICX. But I think I think they're, even if you staked 100% of your ICX, you maybe didn't get as many IAM tokens as you wanted. So for those who are really have a lot of conviction in that project, in that token, it certainly gives a nice little way to further increase their stack. So and obviously by all means a tremendous success. So a lot of enthusiasm behind that team and that token and that idea.
Yeah, excellent. So, next up we have CPS proposal. It's that time again. It's gone from votes to new proposals to come in. Actually, new proposals are in. We're in the voting stage, aren't we, Iconographer?
So it's it's another time to be diligent, whether you're a community member or a PREP, hoping to weigh in, and obviously PREPs have the final vote. But if you're a voter of those PREPs, certainly encourage you to be vocal and have your voice known, and give input on what projects you think are valuable and which ones you think aren't.
Yeah, agree. So, first one we've seen Rhizome again put through Project Coda. Now, if you recall, we've had the guys on the show where they talked about what this is, and we know the first initial proposal got knocked back, and there was a bit of commentary around people wanted to see a bit more work, a bit more defined milestones, etc. The team were great, obviously. Brian and co looked at everything, and in the background they have been working away, and we know they've been working away because they did submit a revised proposal the next round. A couple of rounds have passed, and they have now submitted because they've got all the work in the background done. They've defined the milestones a bit more clearer, narrowed the scope in terms of this is what they're aiming to deliver with this round of funding. A lot of the stuff that when it was originally knocked back, the comments that revolved around it. So it's good to see the team take on a lot of feedback and come back for funding for building. This is going to be another DApp, a unique DApp that is going to be good for the Icon ecosystem. So I'm glad to see that it wasn't given up on, and more work has been put in to flesh it out and bring it back to the CPS proposal system. Iconographer?
There was that initial kind of wave of, I think they were part of basically wave one of all the proposals coming through, and there was some general guidance as far as here's what a proposal should look like. But I think there was kind of I won't say cultural, but sort of a kind of getting a sense of what people were looking for, what they had more tolerance to fund versus what other things. So I think it was part of that process of just kind of, it was kind of a bit of a trial and error as far as figuring out, okay, what is the community value? What does the community need as far as, what are we going to put resources into, how much are we going to ask for, that sort of stuff. And it was Coda and a few other proposals as well that kind of got, they got approval on a big picture sense, but there were some details and some modifications that needed to get worked out before they got full approval. So as you were saying, it's they've been working pretty diligently both on the project itself, but also on the specifics of the proposal. So hopefully they've resolved any of the issues that might have been presented that would have prevented them from getting approval last time, and have updated them and created a stronger proposal as a result. Another one that I was excited to see, for those who are, again, have been following Icon for a little bit longer, the term the Iconist probably rings a bell. What it was launched, I want to say early 2018, around that period, to basically serve as the kind of the main news hub, main newspaper for the Icon community. They were very helpful in terms of both, they would get a lot of kind of direct access to information. They would also take, if there was information that came out somewhere else, whether it was in Korea or something like that, they could either translate it or just, present it in a more polished manner, in order to kind of make sure there's a better understanding of what was going on. It was kind of a nice centralized hub where you can kind of just check in and see what's going on, everything like that. Unfortunately, due to funding issues, they had to shut down. I think this was probably, I don't know if it was a year ago. It might have been within the last year. So they've been kind of, the site still exists. There's old articles and things like that, but they haven't been updating any new content. But now with the CPS system in place, they are coming back, and they put together a pretty cool proposal. Looks like they want to kind of pick up where they left off, both in terms of kind of what they were doing, but also expand it to other avenues. They mentioned doing videos. They mentioned doing a podcast. So it'll be nice to have, a kind of a set of colleagues in the Icon podcast space because it was getting kind of lonely here, as well as some other kind of multimedia and other content features. So the CPS is nice because again, it is one of those things that can inject some really helpful resources into the community. I think I've been disappointed by the fact that the Iconos had to get shut down, mainly because we get pizza, so many bits of news that we get, but we kind of have to get them by paying attention to Twitter or trying to kind of piece together certain little things, or other things like that, and even just the Iconos always did a good job of writing the right headlines, saying, hey, Icon, the public chain, will be doing this. Here's kind of what's going on, providing a really healthy analysis. Whereas most of the news we get about Icon right now, when it first comes out, you have to find until you get to the fifth paragraph, it doesn't mention Icon or something like that, because you have third-party sources who are more, whether they're focused a bit more on an Icon loop or they're focused on other things. They don't quite present kind of the good news in a way that most benefits the chain. They just kind of present it in a very factual, direct way, which is to a certain extent their job. But to have someone kind of more in our corner, who understands the Icon community and can get people a bit more fired up and engaged and informed, I think that'd be a really good asset for the community to have.
Yeah, agree. I do remember reading a bit of the Iconist as well when it was out, and I always wondered what happened. So it's good to see them appear back again, and it's come through CPS. So excited to see that voted through. Then one other one we'll touch on, the Icon DAO again have put through they've refined their hackathon around the universities. It's not necessarily a hackathon. There's courses. It's all around nurturing new talent and bringing them into the Icon ecosystem. Look, great. They've done this very successfully. Hence, they want to do this again. I personally, and I'm going to be a bit more vocal now about a few things over here. It's great to see, and this is what we need. At the same time, I would love to see a bit of a shift at the moment with BTP on the horizon, things like that. I would like to see hackathons, like we should be going to CPS to get funding to approach other chains to build the contracts required on their side for BTP, etc. Like this is the sort of stuff I would like to see, and we know everyone's got their own ecosystem in mind, and all the builders on Ethereum. But if we're taking money to the other builders and going build on your protocol, but build this, I would hope we could get a bit of traction there. So I would hope to see soon. If we're doing hackathons and things, a bit of a shift of focus just this year while that's our focus, interoperability. It'll be good to see some of the teams that have experience in doing such hackathons, maybe yes across unis and etc., use that experience and go, well, how can we cater it into this side of the market that we need to now shift our focus to. But again, the revised, the initial one was quite a big one. There was a bit of pushback again because there was a large funding request. They've revised it, become more clear, a little less funding request, which is good. But the proposal is actually quite good, and it's exciting to see. In fact, one of the news bits that we didn't cover, what was it, Flutter? One of the SDKs, the uni students found this and actually created it and put it up on GitHub, so it makes it easier to program stuff for Android devices, which was great to see. So, it is in the end adding value to the Icon ecosystem, and it's a nice, thorough proposal that's in there. So,
Yeah, there's plenty of there's certainly plenty of money in the CPS. I think they've been topping it up with more Icon, as they were intending to do during the initial kind of few months. And so it's not that there's a shortage of resources, it's more a shortage of most productive places to put them. So there has been I think an increase in the number of proposals coming through. It's kind of been a gradual trend, which is nice to see. But yeah, I do agree, more kind of rubber to the concrete proposals, especially that come out to kind of building chains out and things like that, and also building, whether it's building dApps that are going to be, compatible with BTP by design, or building dApps that are going to run an Icon but may someday be with BTP, the more and more we can get use cases going, I think that's where we're really going to get a lot of value out of that CPS.
So, and this is just it. I'm glad you touched on this. So, the CPS launched with 250,000 ICX. At that time, ICX wasn't even at $1. Since then, ICX has doubled in value, if not more. And I believe we've seen probably around 100, close to 120, 30,000 ICX used in past proposals. So until 3 weeks ago, this was the actual supply left was looking a little lower. However, since then, as we know, till we move on to Icon 2.0, the Foundation's rewards will be used to top up CPS. And this is what's happened. We're almost back to 250,000 ICX in the CPS fund to be used. So if you look at this round, apart from a few, there's a lot of bots and things that are being put forward. Now, I see a lot of teams sometimes get a bit upset, things are getting knocked back, but I feel like we have to put it in perspective. There's a lot of funding there at the moment, and we don't have a lot of dApps and protocols on Icon. This is what should be being sent. Like, this is what we should be seeing. Like, not the same thing. I know there's a view, there was a AMM put through. We have 3 of them on Icon. Well, 2 of them at the moment. So let's look at what we're lacking and start. Their teams there ready to build. Let's focus it and ask for funds around what is going to add value. We've got a huge DeFi ecosystem being built. What else can be valuable in there? What's missing? Let's slot that in. We've got an NFT marketplace that's already. We've got another one coming. What else can be created there? These are the sorts of things I'd love to see hitting CPS. Bots can come later that automate a lot more of the process. And I'm not knocking on teams. I do not want this to be viewed in that light. It's just, we need to strategize as a community. Well, where are we at and what do we need in the ecosystem? I don't know if you have a thought on that, Iconographer.
No, I think that's totally correct. Obviously, it's hard to kind of coordinate on that level with so many different, that is the nature of decentralization. But I think, if we can work toward that, that's going to maximize the value of the CPS and maximize the value of the ecosystem.
Yeah, agree. Okay, so I think that's all the news we have.
Yeah, for the most part, I do want to make sure we do cover that. You yourself had some kind of important personal news as far as your PREP teams. I don't know if you want to talk about that at all.
Oh, yes. So I think by now everyone listening knows. So I have joined Rhizome. I'm excited to be on the team. And look, I've been, obviously, we do the podcast together. In the background, I actually talk and work with Andrew and a few of the guys quite closely as well, so it's a natural fit. And one of the great perks is Andrew is in Australia as well, right? So same time zone, unlike everyone else who's just everywhere else but Australia. So that's been quite good. I'm always in frequent contact. On that note, though, I have said this. I'm very grateful for everything Icon Plus have helped me with. From helping with structure in my tutorials and getting my name out there, and Icon's tutorials out to a bigger audience, and that won't stop. So I'm very grateful for everything they've done, and I'm very excited to join Rhizome and help build a few things in the background that we've been working on. It's I think when we're ready to talk about it a bit more formally, I think everyone will be excited and feel like we're adding a lot of value to the ecosystem.
Absolutely, and welcome on board.
Thank you. And just before we move on now, obviously, first things, so we have a couple of messages from our sponsors. We have a new sponsor, so not only have we got Icon Bet, now we have Icon Nation, who reached out and genuinely just wanted to support us with the podcast. They were so happy to have us working and bringing all this news to light that they just threw their hat in the ring and said, what can we do to help to make sure you're supported? So they are now official sponsors of the show as well. So let's listen to our sponsors' messages that make this show possible. Shout out to our sponsors at IconBet. Open source, decentralized gaming, no deposits, play straight from your wallet. Icon Bet, made by the players for the players. Eye on Icon is proudly supported by Icon Nation and the Icon community. Now we're back, and we have that special announcement. And now, full disclosure here, Iconographer unfortunately wasn't able to sit in on this segment just because time zones, but we have with us our first guest on Eye on Icon, nBlaze, who sat with us and talked to us about EPICX, and we've got him back. He has some announcements. He wanted to share this on Eye on Icon, and there's going to be some articles that come out later. And I sat down with him, and he gives a overview of what he's building, when it's going to launch, what's happening there. So I think everyone should get quite excited. This is something in the making. It's taken a lot longer than thought, but it's sounding like it's going to be really good when it comes out, and it's coming out very soon.
Yeah, I think even if you listen to the entire interview, again, when we first talked to him, it was super informative. It got me very excited about EPICX, and I think in this case it's more of an update. So there's plenty of new information right there, new information included, and certainly some good news as well about when we might be able to start actually using the application.
Now, as promised, we have with us a special appearance, to talk about an announcement that has been saved for Eye on Icon. And if you recall, he was with us in our first guest interview episode, nBlaze from EPICX. How are you, nBlaze? It's been a long time.
Hey, Pes. Yeah, it has been, and I'm really glad that I'm back here. So, it's been a great experience, and I'm eager to share it with you guys, like what happened so far and what we are actually planning, like in the future.
Excellent. Okay, so obviously I hope we have a lot of new listeners as time has gone on. So in case they've missed that first episode, do you want to talk to us about the DApp you're building and what it's all about?
Yeah, I assume that there are a lot of people actually that don't actually know us, because I can see that there are a lot of new members in the community. So and our development has been delayed for a bit lately. So for the ones that don't know us, we are building EPICX, which is a gamified trading platform. It has several dApps actually with it that we call games, because each game is practically a separate dApp. Mm-hmm. So each of the games is covering a different aspect of the trading experience. They're all competition oriented, and they're quite fun in my opinion. Mm. So we have several games included in that. The first one is price prediction, which covers the market movement predictions that you could make. Crypto Duels, which is 1 versus 1 backbuilding game. It has pick and ban phases similar to MOBA, the online battle arena, or some shooter games. There are a lot of games lately that have such pick and ban phases. The third game that we have, the third application that we have on the platform, is called King of the Hill, and it contains various trading tournaments. It's quite similar to the poker sit-and-go system for the ones familiar with it. So it's practically different types of tournaments that are within the actual platform. You can just pick up a different tournament. Each tournament has its own set of rules and stuff like that. So it's a pretty huge system as well.
So what you're creating is, take Icon Bet, for example, which is all around the casino, dApps, etc. You are creating a gaming environment for trading, all around different trading games. And yeah. That's amazing.
It's quite similar in that way. It's quite similar to Icon Bet, I would say, because the thing that we are building is actually, it's not casino oriented. It's actually trading oriented.
That's right. Yeah.
And I would say that our games are quite unique. They all have been built from the ground up.
Yeah.
So each of them has its own set of unique rules that you cannot find. Like pretty much, you can find maybe some components of them in different games, but I think that like the overall, construct of the game is quite unique for each game.
Look, I think it's more from why I compare the two is as a platform. So say Icon Bet is a platform where everyone's creating various dApps, and you mentioned earlier in your intro, there will be various games, several dApps, all around the trading nature. So they're very different, of course, but it's exciting that it's not just one dApp per se. Every game is its own unique application that users can play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, love
absolutely. I completely agree with that. I think that in that way we are quite similar to IconBet. We also have our own tradable token.
Yep.
We also have our own dividends. So we've taken we actually worked a lot with the IconBet guys in the past.
Yeah.
So we've taken some of the experience that they have. So
that's brilliant.
I hope in a good way.
Love it. Okay, cool. No, that is great. That's a very concise summary. Now, obviously, and I want to talk about this since we have you on the show. When we had you first on, you were looking at a closed beta. We were talking close to March, if I recall. My God, has it been that long since we started the show? Okay, March, yes. So what's happened since then?
Oh, well, the process actually took quite a bit longer than we planned. And I cannot lie that it has been slightly frustrating because of that, because, we want application to be live as much as you guys do. But although we have experienced quite a few delays, some of them, related to, some of my inexperience, because I'm not an actual developer. I had to learn throughout the actual process of the actual, process building and application building. So although it's slightly frustrating because of that, I think that it was actually quite a fun experience. I learned a lot of new skills. I enjoyed actually getting into the developer's mind. The irony of the whole thing, I believe, is that our application, I believe our platform will be the most complex application that has been built so far on the Icon network. So the irony of that is like that a non-developer is actually building the, the most complex application. So I don't know why did that happen. I believe that is because the actual developers are aware of how much work is involved with a project like that. And I was quite naive in my experience. So maybe if I knew in the beginning how much work is involved, maybe I wouldn't start as well. So I believe that's maybe the main reason for it. But I can't lie that every step of the way was full with different challenges. I think that my naivety, as I said, helped me through a lot of the early stages before I started to realize the actual amount of work that is involved. And although I have a lot of experience in management, I never managed a project that is a technical project.
Yeah.
So I experienced a lot of problems with the actual organization of the developers, with the recruitment, because I had to recruit everyone on my own, because on the Icon network everyone is quite busy right now with their own things, so we had to hire outsiders because of that. With the funding as well, because I couldn't honestly calculate the funding correctly at the beginning. We had some developers, we had to change developers throughout the process. We had to hire several more experienced developers. We actually started with only one full stack developer and one designer and one front end developer. Right now we are at the stage that we have 2 full stack developers that are working on the score and working, on some of the functionalities that are related to the backend. We also have one of them is also, something like project manager, sort of like he's distributing the tasks.
Yep.
We also have 4 front end developers. We have a designer.
Wow.
We are hiring this week 3 or 4 quality assurance specialists. We also have content writer that we are hiring right now. We have PR people that we are hiring. So
it's full steam.
Yeah. from 2 or 3 guys that started building something. Now we are 10-person team or something.
Wow.
So we expanded quite a lot.
Can I just say, nBlaze, like, it's really refreshing to hear you actually tell all the challenges and be quite humble. Yes, inexperienced, this and that, but the space is like that. A lot of this blockchain space is people seeing an opportunity and acquiring the skills they need to deliver it. So, and everything you've described is just an example of that. And then to even like right at the end to say how big it's gotten, that's amazing. Yeah, I actually think it's quite inspirational to hear the tale. So thank you for sharing the truth of the process and all the learnings that you've encountered.
Well, we all learn because at the beginning I just thought, that's a quite simple project. Here's the structure for it. Everything will be like so easy to make. I designed some, some flows, like some process flows. Okay, so this will happen, then this will happen. So that's quite easy to do. And then like 2 or 3 months within the actual project, when we had like a lot of resources already invested in, when we had like a few developers that were not actually covering their grounds, we just like thought like, okay, something's happening. But at that moment, I think that the sunk cost fallacy, kicked in. The actual fallacy where you have actually invested so much time and resource, so you cannot go back and stuff like that. So I have just thought, you know what, I'm actually on board on the project. I've invested a lot of time in it, and I believe that it's quite fun actually, and I want to see it through. Yeah. So that is why we decided to change everything, and we drastically, increased the team, drastically changed a lot of stuff. That is why we had so many delays. Actually, it's mostly, I would say, because of my inexperience. But I don't believe that a lot of people really realize that the amount of work that is needed to develop on the actual blockchain, because it's not an easy process. It's not easy to find specialists. It's not easy to find somebody that will be willing to actually learn to work on the blockchain, because that's a process that they actually have to learn. In example, one of our full stack developers, he had to learn entirely from scratch how to build on the actual icon system. So he had to learn Score, but after he learned it, he actually built his own private testnet, because there were some issues with some of the functionalities of the testnet. So he has built his local testnet, which we are using for testing.
Yeah.
So,
oh wow, okay. Yeah. So the whole team has grown. Look, it's a great story, and thank you for sharing. So, nBlaze, what have you got for us today? I hear there's news on the horizon.
Yes. Yeah. So I believe that we are already set to start. We are at the finish line, so we're already able to tell you guys when we are supposed to release the games actually, because as I mentioned before, there are several of them. I believe that if nothing happens, of course, because we actually had a developer getting sick of COVID 2 weeks ago.
Oh, no.
So he's been missing for 3 weeks already. But I believe that we'll be able to start the close beta at the end of the month.
Okay.
So that means that we'll be starting with a limited amount of players, probably around 100 to 200 players, for a week or two, maybe, just to test out, to see like that everything's going well. But these players will be provided exclusive access. They'll be able to test out our environment, test out our games, to see like how they feel, like to earn some money, because everything will be functional. It won't be on a test net or anything like that, and it will be on the live net.
Yep. So
they'll be able to gain tokens. They'll be able to win games. They'll be able to make some gains. They will also receive an ICX bonus for everyone that participates. So I believe that we'll be able to share the exact structure and the details of the bonus system and the participation on Tuesday. That's 11th, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Not 11th, sorry, 18th.
Oh, 18th. Yeah, we're 12th.
11th already passed.
So closed beta, end of the month. detailed news
Yep.
coming out on the 18th. Up to 200 players testing. It'll be on mainnet, so not on testnet, on mainnet.
That's correct, yes. And for everyone that is listening, just if you can, just follow us. I'm not sure whether I can say this, but just follow us on Twitter and Telegram. That's okay, right?
Yeah, of course it's okay. I'll make sure it's in the show links.
Got me scared for a second. So yeah, just follow us out there and see. We'll be able to provide the details. Like we'll share them on our Twitter channel and on our Telegram channel as well. And we'll be able to share the full details then. I would like to share them now even, but unfortunately some of them are not completely set. We're just thinking about some details. So that is why we decided to go on the 18th with the full announcement where, we can share the exact system, more details about it. It will be like, I believe that would be the better option.
Look, I agree. I think the nitty gritty is great to do in an article. Some key dates is a perfect call out. So I know I'm excited. I've actually got a few friends who enjoy trading, and when they listen to the first episode, they're excited about the platform. So when I give them the news that it's close. Now, nBlaze, what about, is there going to be something on testnet? I love testing stuff on testnet. I'm known as a bit of an ICX whale on testnet.
We'll probably you would like to make some more gains on testnet, right?
I love claiming my 2,000 free ICX a day.
Yeah, I think that we'll actually, our next release will be on testnet, but that will be practically related to the BTP options, to the next updates, etc. Because we would like to test out the new functionalities for Icon 2.0.
Yep.
For anyone who doesn't know, we actually plan to expand each of our games quite a bit, actually. Although I believe that even the current product will be amazing, we are not planning to stop there. We'll have like a lot of we believe that each of our games has a huge expansion potential. Like an example, price prediction, it could grow to have like unlimited pair options. It could have like options for integrating other charts, etc. For crypto duels, we can add ladders, tournaments, different settings. Different variations, options, etc. For King of the Hill, that could evolve to a huge standalone poker-like platform. You know how the poker platforms are like.
Yep.
We could have a platform like that for trading with weekly added pool tournaments, with a lot of tournament variety. Maybe we're planning to add multi-table tournaments as well. For Against the Odds, prediction market, which is similar to Augur.
Yep.
If you guys know it, it's similar to Augur, but it has elements of an odds exchange where, in example, you set your own statement. You're pulling it directly from the blockchain. In example, you can say like the price of ICX will be this much at the end of the month, or the price of Bitcoin will be higher than the price of Ethereum by I don't know, by the end of August or anything like that. And people can agree or disagree with those statements, just place their own wagers on that. And practically when they do, they have the option to select different odds. And as soon as, in example, if you say that's like by the end of the month, ICX will be $5. As you get closer and closer, it will make more sense that you'll be willing to play on higher odds. In example, that this will happen like 10-1 or 20-1 or anything like that. And that will make it like a really dynamic, self-managed system where like the odds constantly change and people are willing to trade higher and lower odds. Yeah. And you can practically trade both ways and make profits only by exchanging like different rates and stuff like that. But yeah, about Against the Odds, actually you can integrate pretty much any application or event type on the blockchain. So that will have quite a huge potential as well. And with the addition of BTP, we'll be able to add events and applications from other networks as well.
I was just going to ask you sneak in a cheeky question. Can you give us an example of BTP? And I think you just did, so thank you.
Yeah, we are thinking like, especially for Against the Odds, that will be very influenced by the BTP. We are still looking into the options, like for integrating different events from different environments, from different chains, but we are also thinking about different options, like setting up custom event integration, where, in example, instead of us picking the actual events that could be added, people could add their own events, in example, from the blockchain, or in example, a judge referee system like similar to Ogo, where for the actual events that don't have any specific results, like that we can pull from the blockchain, that we can have like different referees with ratings that could confirm the actual outcome. But both of those are very difficult tasks, so we are not sure how well they could be done. These are just like just on the drawing board stages still.
No, that's good. It's very refreshing to hear that, a part of the entire building process you've kept Icon 2.0, BTP, everything in mind, trying to build out this platform, and probably then to your comments, it is very technical and got very technical because you were trying to capture the whole vision, not build to the original plan, which I would think is lining up some sticks and going, look, it's pretty much almost done. And then all of a sudden, all these extra sticks come into play. But nBlaze, now, while I have you, I want to ask another cheeky question. Last time we touched on tokens, tokenomics. Is it at a stage where you could just share the fundamentals of your token, what the platform, how it will work?
Yeah, for sure. I think again, let me open up one of my files here, so I don't mislead you guys in some way. The system is actually not as complicated. Maybe it's when you hear it, it won't be like so easy to comprehend. But I think it makes sense, like in general.
I think
Sorry, go ahead.
So nBlaze, keep it simple. So, like for example, is it have governance? Does it have dividends? Does it have just very brief in what kind of perks it will have?
Yeah, it's not I don't believe that it's so complicated.
Okay.
Anyway, I mean, we have a total supply of the token, which will be like a limited amount. From that token supply, like every game that you play will earn you a specific amount of tokens. So in example, if you spend one ICX, that will gain you will receive like one EPICX. That's the name of our token. So for every ICX spent, you will receive one EPICX in return. So practically 5% of every win on the platform goes towards a dividend pool.
Okay.
So that dividend pool is responsible for allocating dividends amongst the token holders. So practically 5% out of all returns from the actual platform go towards the token holders. So the more tokens you own, the more you earn. And also, the thing is, we have implemented, I would say, a slightly unique system where the actual distribution of the dividends will be actually attached to the circulating supply that we have. So, in example, if you have 10% circulating supply, that will mean that 10% of the dividend pool will be distributed amongst the token holders at the end of the week. So what that practically means is that when, in example, there is a small amount of circulating supply, in example, when we have like 5%, 10%, you're only getting like 5 or 10% of the dividend pool distributed like at the end of each week. However, when we go to, in example, 50% circulating supply, 50% of the dividend pool will be distributed at the end of each week. That will make it like a really interesting mechanic where, in example, you have like higher value of the actual dividend of the actual tokens when the circulating supply increases. We also have included though the option to sell directly to the platform.
Okay.
So what we mean by selling is actually not selling to someone, but you're actually removing them from the circulating supply. It's sort of like a burn.
So it's like a redeem. So you essentially trade in your token, it gets burnt, and you get the value of it in ICX back.
Exactly. So not exactly your value of ICX even, but in example, if you own 5% of the actual circulating supply, in example, when you sell your tokens, you're receiving directly 5% of the current dividend pool. So you're receiving a direct cut from the dividend pool. So you have two options. You have the option to either keep your EPICX and receive dividends at the end of each week, or you can just like sell them at this moment of time and just receive direct reward for it. So that would mean that like you have like really interesting mechanic where you can, like in example, when the circulating supply increases, as the dividend pool decreases in example, you'll have like the option to directly sell it at a certain moment of time in case that you think that, like an example, your value is not so much, which will decrease the actual circulating supply and respectfully will increase the dividend pool in time. So I don't know. I think that's like when I explain it like this, it doesn't sound it sounds a bit complicated, but when you see it, you'll see that it's actually a pretty cool system.
It's a few factors where the supply can inflate, but it can be burnt at the same time, which impacts, and there's a redeem / there would be a market value. There's a few factors in play. It reminds me a lot of the UP token, the way it gets minted and distributed, and it can be redeemed and sold. Obviously, it has its own mechanics to it, but
in a way. And also, obviously, it will be tradable token, so anyone can share that token. Anyone can trade it like among the different platforms. So it has a lot of like mechanics involved into it.
No, great. Look, really excited. Okay, so to summarize, article drops on the 18th, end of the month close beta with 100 to 200. That'll be on mainnet, and there'll be rewards, and all that will be out on the 18th of May. And we are about to launch, and it's not one DApp. It is essentially a platform with many games that are DApps, and they're going to constantly keep evolving and growing. So this is exciting. Another bundle of DApps to join the Icon ecosystem. That's exactly what we need.
Yeah, guys. I hope that we are excited as we are, and as we said, like any of the games that you like, that you're willing to play, we're willing to expand that. We already have plans to expand each of the games. We already have plans to expand like different systems to include like more functionalities within the app. Just as long as we have like players supporting us, we'll keep expanding.
Sounds good. We'll get the players in there. Excellent. Thank you, nBlaze, for coming on. If there's nothing else, we will close out the show. This was the announcement we had planned right from the start, and really want to thank you, nBlaze, for contacting us and asking, if we want. Of course we want anything to do with Icon, we want on the show. And I want to give credit. It was one of the guys on Telegram that actually suggested it, isn't it?
Yeah. I want to give it was actually it was one of the actual supporters on the actual Telegram channel. So I'm really glad that he did that. He reminded us of that possibility. I mean, that's an amazing like opportunity, that yes. I was like here like a certain time ago. I always enjoyed like being on the channel. It was amazing. It was actually John True Crypto.
I was just gonna say thank you, John. He's been very vocal in all forums, been appreciating his support. So it's thanks to him this has happened. So really appreciate that.
Yes, definitely. So thank you once again for having me, Fez. And we'll share the details on Tuesday. So if you guys can follow us, just join us in on Telegram or Twitter, or whatever is more comfortable for you. And we can share the details, and we can, have the competition. Just whoever would like to participate in the closed beta, just let us know, and we'll make it happen.
Well, you have my name already, so put me down. But to close it out,
we'll see if you'll be able to win a spot. I don't know. We're quite limited.
No, understand. Look,
we'll see. We'll save a spot for you.
Awesome,
for sure.
Awesome. Look, I just want to close this out. Thank you, nBlaze, and just on that note, the biggest thing Icon needs is, and I'm very vocal about this, dApps. They're being built now. The second part is we have a huge community. The community needs to start using these dApps. You're going to lose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ICX in the process by fees, etc., etc. But this is critical to learn how these dApps work, because once you learn, like Balance and a few of the others, you realize the value in them, on the entertainment in them, etc. So everyone needs to, get on board and test it out and learn from it. And I'll do whatever I can to put out tutorials and stuff to make it as easy as possible. But as always, nBlaze, continue building. I'm looking forward to the launch and then seeing how you keep expanding. And obviously, before you expand and major news you have, we're going to have you back on the show.
For sure. It's been a tradition already, so that will happen for sure.
Excellent. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for having me once again, Chris. Have a nice day.
You too.